haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe now. We have new stories every day. Now let's go. Title: The Unseen Messages. Sophie and Max met during her sophomore year at the University of California, Berkeley. She was an art major with a penchant for spontaneous adventures, and he was a computer science whiz who could code circles around his peers. Their paths crossed at a campus-wide paint fight, a chaotic explosion of colors where she accidentally splattered neon green paint all over his favorite hoodie. "Sorry about that," she laughed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. He wiped a smear of pink from his glasses and grinned. "No worries. Green's my favorite color anyway." From that messy beginning, a beautiful relationship blossomed. They were inseparable, sharing a love for parties that lasted until dawn and road trips with no planned destination. 5 years later, they stood under a canopy of redwoods, exchanging vows and promising forever. Life after college was an exciting whirlwind. Max landed a job at a tech startup in San Francisco, and Sophie became a freelance graphic designer, her vibrant artwork gaining recognition. They continued to live life to the fullest, attending music festivals, hosting themed parties, and traveling whenever possible. One summer evening, they received an invitation to an alumni reunion party hosted by their old college friend, Jake. "It'll be just like old times," Max said, waving the invite. "You in?" "Wouldn't miss it for the world," Sophie replied, her eyes dancing with excitement. The night of the party was a nostalgic trip down memory lane. The venue was decked out with photos from their college days, and the air buzzed with laughter and the scent of fond memories. As they mingled, a familiar voice called out, "Sophie Williams, is that you?" She turned to see Liam, an old friend from her art classes. Tall with a charmingly crooked smile, he was someone she'd shared countless late-night conversations with back in the day. "Liam, wow, it's been ages," Sophie exclaimed, giving him a warm hug. Max joined them and introductions were made. "I've heard so much about you," Max said, shaking Liam's hand. "All good things, I hope," Liam chuckled. As the evening progressed, Sophie and Liam reminisced about college antics, the time they painted a mural on the side of the admin building, the spontaneous road trip to Vegas, the infamous toga party. "You remember that night?" Liam asked, waggling his eyebrows. Sophie laughed, a hint of blush creeping into her cheeks. "How could I forget?" Max noticed the exchange but didn't think much of it. Sophie was naturally friendly and animated, and he trusted her completely. A few months later, as autumn leaves painted the city gold, Sophie's freelance work began to flourish. One day, she received an email from a prestigious design firm in New York City, inviting her to collaborate on a project. "Max, they want me in New York for a week," she exclaimed, practically bouncing with excitement. "That's fantastic, Soph," he beamed. "When do you leave?" "Next Monday. Is that okay?" "Of course. You about to seize this opportunity?" She wrapped her arms around him. "You're the best." The following week, Max helped her pack. "Don't forget your sketchbook," he reminded her. "Already in the bag," she winked. At the airport, they shared a lingering goodbye. "Call me when you land," he said. "Promise," she replied, giving him a peck on the cheek. Upon arriving in New York, Sophie was immediately swept up in the city's energy. After checking into her hotel, she opened her laptop to review project details. Just then, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Guess who's also in the Big Apple? She stared at the message, puzzled. "Who is this?" she typed back. A selfie popped up. Liam standing in Times Square, grinning widely. "Liam, what are you doing here?" she replied. "Working on a gallery exhibit. Thought it was fate running into you at the party. Care to meet up?" Sophie felt a flutter of excitement. "Sure. It's a big city. What are the odds?" They arranged to meet at a chic cafe in Soho the next day. Back in San Francisco, Max was immersed in a coding marathon, trying to meet a looming deadline. He missed Sophie's presence, but was thrilled for her success. The next afternoon, Sophie arrived at the cafe to find Liam already seated, 2 coffees on the table. "Always knew how you liked it," he said, pushing a cup toward her. She smiled. Some things never change. They spent hours catching up. Liam told stories of his travels, his art, and the people he'd met. Sophie shared her own adventures, laughing as they recalled old jokes. As they were leaving, Liam touched her arm gently. "You know, it's been great seeing you again. Maybe we can do dinner tomorrow?" Sophie hesitated for a moment, but then nodded. "I like that." Over the next few days, they met whenever her schedule allowed. They visited art galleries, strolled through Central Park, and even crashed a rooftop party just for the thrill of it. Meanwhile, Max noticed subtle changes in their conversations. Sophie seemed distracted during their nightly calls, her responses shorter, laughter less frequent. "Everything okay?" he asked during one call. "Yeah, just tired. The project's intense," she replied. "Make sure you take some time for yourself." "Will do. Love you." "Love you too," he said, though the line had already gone dead. After returning home, Sophie was more guarded with her phone. One evening, as they sat watching a movie, her phone buzzed. She quickly glanced at it and turned it face down. "Who's that?" Max asked casually. "Oh, just spam," she said, a bit too quickly. He didn't press the issue, but couldn't help noticing that she'd started taking her phone with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. A few days later, Max needed to use her phone to check a website. Iz was charging upstairs. "Hey, can I use your phone real quick?" Sure, she said, handing it over reluctantly. He swiped the screen. "What's your passcode again? 1313, right?" She bit her lip. "Actually, I changed it. It's 927,461 now." He looked at her amused. "Wow, upgrading to Fort Knox security?" She shrugged. "Just felt like being more secure." He entered the code, but a message flashed. "Incorrect passcode." "Are you sure that's it?" he asked. "Oh, sorry, it's 927,641, she corrected. He tried again, and it unlocked. As he opened the browser, a notification banner popped up. "Liam, can't wait to see you tonight." A knot formed in Max's stomach. He handed the phone back. "Here you go." "Thanks," she said, quickly locking the screen. That evening, Sophie left for a late meeting with a client. Max sat alone, the silence of the house amplifying his thoughts. Deciding he needed clarity, he reached out to their mutual friend Maya. "Hey Maya, quick question. Do you know if Sophie is working with Liam on any projects?" "Liam?" "As in college Liam?" Mia replied. "Yeah, they've reconnected recently." "Not that I know of." "Why?" "Just curious. Thought maybe they were collaborating." Mia paused before typing. "Is everything okay, Max?" "I'm not sure," he admitted. A few days later, Max received a message from an unknown number. "Hi Max, it's Jenna from college. There's something you should know about Sophie and Liam." He felt his heart rate quicken. "What is it?" "They've been seeing each other. I wasn't sure if I should tell you, but I thought you deserved to know." Max's world tilted. He thanked Jenna and sat there, disbelief washing over him. When Sophie returned home that night, he confronted her. "We need to talk." She looked up, surprised by his tone. "Sure, what's up?" "Are you seeing Liam?" Her eyes widened. "What? Why would you ask that?" "Because you've been acting differently. Hiding your phone, changing passwords, and Jenna told me you've been meeting him." Sophie sighed, sitting down. "Max, I didn't want you to get the wrong idea." "Then what's the right idea?" She fiddled with her ring. "We met up in New York. It was just innocent fun. Two old friends catching up. Then why hide it?" "I don't know. I guess I knew you'd overreact." "Overreact? To my wife secretly meeting another man?" She stood up, defensive. "You're making this into something it's not." "Am I? Then why the secrecy? Why the lies?" She threw her hands up. "Fine. Maybe I enjoyed his company. Maybe I felt alive and free in a way I haven't in a long time." Max felt as if he'd been punched in the gut. "So, what does that mean for us?" She looked away. "I don't know." Silence filled the room, heavy and suffocating. "I think you do know," he said quietly. She turned back to him, tears welling in her eyes. "I never meant to hurt you." "But you did. And you still are." They spent the next few days in separate rooms, the chasm between them growing wider. One evening, Max found a note on the kitchen table. "Max, I've decided to stay with Mia for a while. I need time to figure things out." "Sophie." He felt a mix of sadness and relief. Maybe some distance would bring clarity. Weeks turned into months. They communicated sporadically, mostly about practical matters. Friends reached out with sympathy, but Max preferred solitude. One day, he received divorce papers in the mail. Attached was a handwritten note from Sophie. "Max, I'm sorry it came to this. I hope one day you can forgive me." "Sophie." He stared at the papers, the finality of it all sinking in. At the court hearing, they avoided eye contact. The judge finalized the divorce, and just like that, 5 years of marriage dissolved. Outside the courthouse, Sophie approached him. "Max, for what it's worth, I am sorry." He looked at her, searching for the girl he once knew. "I hope you find what you're looking for." She nodded, wiping a tear. "Take care." As she walked away, Max felt a strange sense of closure. It wasn't the ending he'd hoped for, but perhaps it was the one they needed. In the months that followed, Max focused on healing. He picked up old hobbies, reconnected with friends, and even adopted a rescue dog named Pixel. One evening, as he was walking Pixel in the park, he bumped into Mia. "Max, long time no see," she smiled. "Hey, Mia, how are you?" They chatted for a while, and as the sun set, she said, "You seem to be doing better." He nodded. "Yeah, I think I finally am." "Good. You deserve it." They parted ways, and for the first time in a long while, Max felt hopeful about the future. Epilogue. Sophie moved to New York permanently, diving into her work. Rumors circulated that she and Liam didn't last, but Max didn't concern himself with that. Years later, Max became the CTO of a successful tech company. At a conference, he met someone, a brilliant software engineer named Lily. They bonded over their love for dogs and bad puns. "Why do programmers prefer dark mode?" She joked on their first date. "Because light attracts bugs," he finished, laughing. This time, Max felt he could trust again. As for Sophie, wherever she was, he wished her well. Their chapter together had ended, but life had many more pages to turn.